All right, truth seekers, free thinkers, and witty spirits. Picture this: an Irish woman, not Jewish, not Israeli, just a regular Dubliner, fed up with the hypocrisy. She walks straight to the heart of Trinity College Dublin, holding a single flag. One word on it: Shalom, peace. That's it. No slogans, no chants, no aggression, just peace. Peace in Hebrew. And that's where the problem is, because in 2026, in Trinity College, even the word for peace has become too provocative if it's written in the wrong language, Hebrew. So tonight we are sitting down with the woman herself, Samantha Dooley, and she will tell us what were the motives behind the walk and what sort of debate was sparked by this gesture. She is here to break down exactly why she did it, what shalom actually means. However, it's not a secret code for world domination. The real atmosphere for anyone who dares show support for Israel in this day and age, especially in college campus, and the wild allegations of so-called Zionist-free zones, turning elite universities into ideological no-go areas. This is about what happens when peace becomes hate speech, when Jewish students feel pushed out of the conversation, and when one woman decides enough is enough. So stick around, free spirits, witty spirits, and truth seekers. We are not going to hear this anywhere else, just in this channel. So drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you are sick of echo chambers like myself, smash that like button below, subscribe, and consider throwing some super chats to support this independent project or join our membership plan. So let's go, Samantha. You're very welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be on the show, and I'm glad to be telling this story. Just for the viewers, that snoring in the back isn't some old man in a darkly clad corner. It is, in fact, a very old English bulldog. So just ignore that, and we will proceed. So, getting to the build up of this day, I had problems in the course, which I felt were related to anti-Semitism, but we won't go into that on this show today because there's other people involved and it's just not right. I will talk about why I decided to do this though. So I finally graduated, having started the course in 2023, right after, well, just before, sorry, October the 7th. Just before October the 7th. So it was a very tough start in Trinity at that point because I got to listen, well, subjected to the various anti-Semitic slander that was going on through everywhere, not just in Trinity College, it was all over Ireland. In fact, there were protests, Free Palestine protests after October the 7th, which was, it was very difficult to understand how a human being could go and side with a country that just did the most horrific things to other human beings. And if you haven't seen the video footage, you really need to go and see it. It's there, it's up there, anyone can access what they did. There is a report called the Dinner Report, which was written by 4 international groups, including Israel, Canada, America, I think Germany was one as well. And they systematically put together what first respondents saw, the evidence they collected from October the 7th. So the video footage that's out there really does coincide to the sexual abuse that happened during that. So bearing in mind that happened to hundreds and hundreds of people, and a lot of them children because they were teenagers or younger babies, and you've got these people out yelling from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. It's, for me, and a very small number of people that I noticed online, it was like a toxic insanity. Almost like it wasn't real. We're watching something from a movie. That's what it felt like to me. So during the course of this, after I finished my course and, I got told, yes, you passed, you're going to graduate last year, I still am, I'm in a group called Ireland Stands with Israel. Now, with that group, we're just about to start a community group page, which will be open on Sunday if anyone wants to drop in and become a member. There's 5 or 6 of us that are admins, and we've been together for quite some time now, fighting the lies and spreading truth on social media on different platforms. And I would be more on the LinkedIn platform, but some of the group would be mainly Facebook and X, for example, and I think one is on TikTok. But part of being that group is really to get out and change perceptions, to let people know, hey, hang on a minute, there is more to this than what you're being told, and there's a really, really long history to Israel and Gaza. Very, very long. In fact, if we go back in biblical terms, Gaza or Gazites, as they were referred to, had constant battles with Israel. And I believe the story of Samson and Delilah was a Gazite, right? He got paid by the Philistines to fool Samson, who was the strongest man in the world and an Israeli. And you know how that turned out, or maybe some of you don't. Well, Delilah fooled Samson, and he told her what the source of his power was, and then she told the Philistines, and they captured him. But in the end, he asked God for one last chance, and he killed them all, including himself. So that's how, this thing that's happening in the Middle East goes back so long, that these people that have just hooked on to this theme of free Palestine from the river to the sea have completely lost the plot. And they seem to be reading different social media posts or articles from Al Jazeera or other biased media, and not actual bona fide reports, which are out there, by the way. There are loads of reports that you can read that tell you exactly about what started in Israel, how it started with Gaza. The Peels Commission, 1937, is a good report. It's a very long report, a few hundred pages on that, but that really breaks down how this started, right? And how on the very first day of Israel's inception, 1948, they were invaded by all the Arabs that were around them, including what was to be Palestine, which then led to other things because Israel won that war. So when you know the story, because anyone who's Jewish, who has a Jewish parent, has information on Israel and how it started and why it started, and that it's the only Jewish state. And if you're born Jewish, you are told that if there is another Holocaust, the Jewish state is the only place you're ever going to be safe. And quite frankly, it really does look like we're going into Holocaust number 2. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. There are quite a few people that think that. Would I be fair to say you think that, Victor?
Yes, absolutely. I totally relate to what you just said. And I think there's a lot of warning signs that we should be aware of, and we shouldn't underestimate, because they are real and they are threats that we cannot neglect. Fortunately, Israel itself is prepared to respond for all the enemies that are surrounding the land, and they have been fairly successful. But we never know what can happen in the future, because there are alliances that we don't know how strong they are, what sort of military power they possess. So we should never underestimate the monsters. I would say you need to be very prudent, because things can go back as they were in the 40s, and history is repeating itself. But I want to go back to your story in Trinity College. So what are your feeling, sentiments when you are walking around with the Shalom flag, when we all know that it's not very well seen by many?
Yeah. So so we decided, when I say we, there was a couple of us involved. There were two other people at that graduation with me that were there to take the video footage and supply the actual flag. So it almost didn't happen because we almost didn't get the flag, but it did. It eventually got to me just as I was leaving the hall, the graduation hall. And there was my friend Don holding the flag, and I just grabbed it off him and threw my bag towards him and said, "Hold that, I'm going to take this flag." And I looked at him and said, "Shall I just walk through?" And he goes, "Yeah, just walk through." So I did. I just walked through Trinity College with the flag, and I noticed lots of people were looking. Don was taking videos, and as we're walking through, and I felt really out of place. I felt like this is not going to go down very well. And as I came close to the actual group, who were already getting in line for their group photograph, the registrar, who is the person that speaks to us in the auditorium, started walking towards me with a very stern face. And his walking got quicker. And I knew he was going to tell me to take that down, to get that off you for the group shot. So I just started to fold it. And then he stared at me, and he just stopped, and he just kept staring at me as I was walking up to my position, which I think was on the second from the top down. So the plan was to hold it up, and I didn't want to hold it up for too long because I'm conscious that everyone wants to take a group shot. So I thought let's just do this for 30 seconds. Because there was lots of media, there were lots of people taking photographs, and I thought, right, let's just do this. So I had another friend who was videoing from the audience, and she said when I held it up, she heard people say, "Shalom." And a few people she said she could hear it everywhere, "Shalom, Shalom," like they didn't quite know what they were reading. Maybe they didn't understand what that was her initial thought, that they were just sort of reading it out without understanding what it meant. And then I stopped and I pulled to the side, and we did some other video shots of the actual me holding the sign. But the registrar walked past me afterwards and gave me a very hard look. Now, I want to point out that under the Universities Act, you can, there is encouragement to have freedom for your culture. And indeed, there was a student there, a few paces in front of me, that was wearing watermelon earrings. So, no, she didn't have a sign, but I think watermelon earrings, everyone knows what that means now. So to me, that was the same thing. So I guess like it's one of those things you feel very scared at the time, and you know that it's not going to go down well, but you really feel like you have to do this. You have to make a stand and say, do you know what? Not me. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not going to be one of those people that if we were back in the 1930s that would just pull down the blinds and turn the TV up. I don't want to do that. I want to make a point that we need to support Israel.
It's a moral question, isn't it? Like you want to be honest with yourself, and you don't want to bend when things are going in the wrong direction, because they can get way worse, and you don't want to feel part of the wider problem. And the sooner you take action, the better for yourself, and it's not just for you. Everyone will benefit if everyone will be authentic and real with themselves. Just before I pass the word to you again, Samantha, I want to say there is a poll where I ask people, is displaying Shalom, or peace in Hebrew for those who are not aware of the meaning of Shalom. So is displaying Shalom on campus hate speech or free speech? For now, there is an overwhelming understanding that it means free speech. So 83% of the people responded displaying Shalom is a manifestation of free speech, and there's no issue with that. Only 17% believe it's a provocation and should be banned. It's a funny split, but we'll discuss it later on. Please keep adding your input. We will see what your understanding of Samantha's gesture in Trinity College, but we will leave that for later in the show. I want to discuss these Zionist-free zones, like in Trinity College, and I'm not sure if they already exist, but they were on the cards. Perhaps it's something that the students are trying to bring from the US, because they are very good at it. They're trying to bring the worst from the US and turn a blind eye at the positive things, because there are a lot of positive things among the Americans, in my understanding. But let's say instead of Zionist free zones, there'll be Indian free zones or Muslim free zones or even Irish free zones. Do you think the reaction of the public will be the same?
Oh, look, absolutely not. And it's actually in 2024, according to Mr. Sears, who has the Holocaust Museum in Dublin, fathom.org, he wrote that the UCD actually had Zionist-free zones, and Trinity had You're Not Zionist, Not Welcome, the Students' Union. So when they did a big protest in front of the Book of Kells in 2024 to push Trinity College to boycott Israel, at that point it was, Zionists aren't welcome. And that was kind of the theme going around. And of course, everyone knows there were shops popping up, Zionist-free shops, all this sort of stuff. Exactly the same thing that happened in Nazi Germany in the 1930s, by the way. This is how this all evolved. It's almost identical. It's scary. So this was going on, and this is going on in two top universities, Trinity College and University College Dublin, UCD. Like, how does that happen in the the 1 and 2 universities in Ireland? How do we get to a state where it is just rampant with anti-Semitic suggestions? Because Zionism literally means the state for Jewish people where they can develop, get self-determination and be protected. That's literally what it means, the self-determination of Jewish people. That is the meaning of it. However, in information, in communication I've had online with Facebook and on LinkedIn, people have said to me it doesn't mean that. They have been brainwashed to believe that Zionism is some political term that means imperialistic oppression. This video that you've got of me, that you've played for this, I posted that on my LinkedIn profile. And one woman said, that is a provocation and it shouldn't have been ever used. And I said, what? It's Shalom. It means, peace. It means hello. It means goodbye. But generally...
Sorry to cut you off, Samantha, but that's what I want to say. You are just displaying the word Shalom. You were not displaying any political artifact or symbol. There was no relation to the land of Israel except the word Shalom, which means peace. And it's probably the most beautiful word in the Hebrew lexic and dictionary. So you're actually pointing out to the direction that we all want to be the future of the Middle East, that everyone can live in peace, coexist, and make the best of themselves and the wider community. So there was no provocation whatsoever. You can say, like, for instance, recently, I think in a museum in Madrid, there are a couple of ladies who are wearing the Israeli flag. I think there's nothing wrong with that, but we all know that there can be backlash. So I was not surprised. I was not in favor of them being expelled from the premises, but that's a different thing. You were only holding a flag with the word peace. That was it.
Yes, that was it. But this woman on LinkedIn, Irish woman, said that if it was written in English, this is what she wrote, if it was written in English, it would be justified. But because it was written in Hebrew, which is connected to the Zionist kibbutz,
So I was drinking water. I almost spilled with that.
The Zionist kibbutz, it has negative connotations. I mean, what do you say to people that have completely, misunderstood what they're reading or their interpretation?
Does she know? Does she know what the kibbutz are? Because kibbutz start as a very much left-wing idea of society, of how people organize themselves, for a living, how they share. At the start, kibbutz were a very much socialistic project of life and community. So just because kibbutz now relates to Israel, people think kibbutz is full of colonialistic, white supremacists, Nazis, you name it.
To be honest, I didn't even know what a kibbutz was before October the 7th. So, I mean, these people are just plucking out words that they've seen in articles and they're putting stuff together, but they have no history, no background of this.
Yeah,
they don't understand what is happening in the Middle East, but they seem to feel that they're experts after reading a few articles. And then, of course, you have your...
You think they read some? Because I think their education is mostly TikTok, probably the headlines of Al Jazeera articles. That's it. They don't have the time or the luxury to read, because all they do is pretend that they study when they are heading to Trinity College or UCD, and after they are walking on O'Connell Street, Dame Street, waving flags that are totally against what they stand for, what they think, what they claim they stand for, which is human rights. Because if they want to be for equality, if they want to be for women rights, if they want to be for gay life, the worst place to go is Gaza.
Oh, look, that I don't know what's in their head. Really, I think there could be a number of psychological models at play here. The bandwagon effect. Everybody's doing it, so why not do it as well? Which is a very common model that explains people's behavior. Some people will say, generally Jewish people will say they're just anti-Semitic, but I don't agree with that in some cases. I think brainwashing has happened. And it's interesting what you said about the headlines. You're actually right, because 80% thereabouts in many of the research that has been done. My background is in digital marketing for the last 10 years, so I would study this and I read about it all the time. So I'm fully aware that the headlines is actually all people read, or roughly 80% of people read headlines. They don't actually read the article. And this is the problem that we have, because the media sources know that. So they know they have to get someone who's got a very, very good sense of targeting certain audiences that are going to click on their link. And of course, people must know this day and age, the more you click on somebody's link, the better the algorithms for them. And if they're a media source, their advertising budget goes up.
Yeah.
They get to tell advertisers, hey, look at this. We had 10,000 clicks in 1 hour on this. So that's how many people are going to see your ad if you advertise with us. I don't know if everybody knows that's how it works, but that is how it works. Even before social media, even before online, when we had the old newspapers, they used to pay people millions a year just to give them a headline for a newspaper. So people would buy the newspaper, and people would buy the newspaper seeing this mad headline, thinking, what is that about? And they open it up and the story had nothing to do with the headline.
Yeah.
Because some junior journalist got stuck with writing a story for a headline that was just way out there. But they do exactly the same today. The only problem is with this situation, everything I read seems to appease the pro-Palestinian mob. The headlines, I've seen it in the RTE, I've seen it in the Irish Times, I've seen it in the Independent, I've seen it in all the Irish news media.
We don't need to advertise them. They have enough funds to promote themselves. On that note, I want to tell people that are watching us, okay, there are exceptions. This channel is an exception. We are proud to be on the other side. On the other side, it's not just this teenager attitude of being different. No, we are seeking the truth. We are pursuing facts. We want to understand how things are, and ideally seeing with our own pair of eyes, make our own conclusions. Sometimes we are wrong, sometimes we are accurate, but we are trying to get it ourselves. So if you enjoy what we do here, be part of the community, click that subscribe button below and share with someone who is into this sort of conversations that are real, tangible, and well-intended. So please, if any part of the conversation with proper input, the chat box is open. We are happy to be challenged. We are happy to be to receive objections. Just be civic and not cross the line. That's the only thing I would ask. You're talking about how people are anti-Semitic, and I think we're on the same page when it comes to this. But I want to expand just to understand how much we share this perspective, because I have the impression that there's a huge difference between the well-educated individuals who go to universities, they have well-paid jobs, say they work corporate or they work in the public sector, versus the man on the street. I think the man on the street doesn't care much about those things. They are more keen to bring food to the table, have a few pints, and if they have enough spare money, spend some time in Mallorca. Do you have the same point of view, or do you think the man on the street is also infected by the Palestinistic virus?
Look, I have friends that I'm not allowed to talk about Gaza with, right? They don't want to know. All they're interested in is Ireland, their home, what they're going to have for dinner tonight, how to fix their back pain, are they going to get extra funding for the cost of living? These are what the average Irish person cares about. But unfortunately, even these people, they still get on social media constant barrage of, via the algorithms, of pro-Palestinian propaganda. I say propaganda because propaganda is when everyone's reading from the same script, and they use keywords that all of them use. So at the moment, well, for the last year, they have been using stuff like imperialistic, colonialism. At the beginning of the war, a common word that was used was disproportionate. In fact, in Trinity, the president made a statement in May 2024, and in that statement, she said the war in Gaza is ferocious and disproportionate. And it made me think, well, hang on a minute. Did you not see the footage of Hamas soldiers holding down a pregnant woman and hacking out the baby? Did you not see that? Which is a fact. Anyone can find that online now. That is ferocious, actually. And if you can tell me what you mean by disproportionate, I kind of want to say to the president, well, okay, let's be proportionate. Will you go and pick which pregnant woman in Gaza comes over and has men hack out their baby? Is that what you mean by proportionate? Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And sure, we know the numbers now. We know the numbers are around 50,000 or less civilians. We know the numbers are about 1,200. It was about 1,500 altogether. With later
around 1,500.
Situations. So yes, is it disproportionate? Who started the war?
Yeah.
Who started the war? I heard Leo Baraka.
And the other thing, sorry, some to jump in. The other thing is, let's say 50,000 people were killed in Gaza during the war. Like, how many of them are Hamas members? How many of them are Hamas sympathizers? And how many of them could be rescued if Hamas would have allowed the Gazans to use the tunnels? Because that's what Israel does. Israel does everything they can to protect the civilians. So I was in Israel in June last year during the 12 days war, and we were protected, from the 24 hours. We had a whole system to look after ourselves, so we were never neglected by the state. Hamas does the complete opposite. If there is an attack, they will make sure that the civilians are in the radar, that they can show to the world that another few dozens were killed, and they can get another injection of dollars that will go straight to the leaders. That's what people don't see. This is a death machinery operated by the evil. And Israel did everything they could and beyond to mitigate the killing. And as a matter of fact, before the actual attacks, before the strikes, balloons were sent to the population saying you should evacuate because things are going to be ugly in the next few minutes. That's all you can do. It's not ideal, but that's the only solution presented when things are upside down.
See, Vitor, this is a point that I always bring up to people when they bring up, that there were children. Sadly, it was quite horrific to watch children in hospitals dying in the way that they did, which, by the way, happens in every war. But this was really on camera, and it was in everybody's faces. But these children were not the children of the 800,000 that left Gaza when they were told to leave Gaza. These were children of the parents that stayed behind after they were told to leave Gaza, right? I always ask people, if you were told by the United States, we're going to bomb this area, get out, would you stay there with your children? Because I know I would get out and I'd take my dog and I would be gone. So I really can't understand how people cannot make the connection that the parents should have left with the other 800,000 Gazans.
Yeah, I think one of the answers is they have been brainwashed to understand death, as a reward. Let's say if you die for them, the cause is more relevant than life itself. Like we were told in the West that we should protect our lives no matter what. So if you need to run away, if you need to leave our house, if you need to just adopt extreme measures, we will, because life is sacred and we'll protect it no matter what's going on. We need to save lives, because that's a mandate. For Islam, it's not like that.
No.
It's a death code. So if you need to die, to make sure that Islam is being propagated, let it be. If you need to lose one or two kids, not a problem. It's part of the Islam expansion, and it's fine. And this is not, again, going back to the man on the street. It's not the man on the street problem or man on the street idea. They have been told that they are part of the wider military group that will try to conquer the West. And one way to do it is to let die their own children, and they are fine to accept that price.
I mean, they've even said that the leader of Hamas was quoted giving him directive saying to protect Palestine with their bare chest. That was one thing that he said that was quoted. I mean, he was telling them, you need to martyr.
Yep.
And how many did that? It would seem quite a bit. I think after all of this, the truth will come out eventually to those children and those people, innocent people, that should never have been in that area in the first place. They should have left with the others. And there are the others that left and ended up in tents along the Dead Sea. There were hardships, but they survived. And there's a couple of really good Facebook pages of little girls. That there's one called the Tiny Chef, and she makes food every day. And the food she makes has got fresh lemon, cocoa. It has all these exotic types of foods, fresh chicken, you name it. She makes incredible food. And I think to myself, wow, like, how could they be making, and she's been making it for 2 years, by the way. You can go back 2 years and see all the stuff that she makes every day. And she is in a tent with her family on the beach with the rest of them. So I don't know where that famine is, but it was not in where they are on the tents.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing of Gaza starvation, it's very, very stinky, I would say. And it's not only starvation. They suffer from all sorts of plagues, starvation, even snow. I don't know if you saw, there was even snow in Gaza, and people believe it. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, people believe that the Gazans now are having a snowfall, and if it wasn't for the Israelis, there will be skiing competitions. Maybe the next Winter Olympics will happen in Gaza if it wasn't for the Zionists. People believe all sorts of lies. When we all know that Gaza has been funded with billions and billions of dollars, and all they did was building tunnels, and the rest was sent to the elites' pockets, and they all moved to nice houses in Qatar, Turkey, and other parts of the Middle East. And if people really care for the man on the street in the Muslim world, where are they for the Iranians? Seems that this silence contradicts how much they stand for human rights.
there's a lot of contradictions out there, and it makes you wonder how people at top universities cannot see that, cannot have the critical thinking skills to understand what they're doing is taking a side and totally dismissing all the contradictions from the other side, all the lies that are coming out, all the contradictions that are coming out. I mean, there was this narrative at the start that even our Irish president said, "Oh, this war didn't start on October the 7th, blah, blah, blah."
Yeah.
She didn't say actually when she thought it started, but a lot of people say it was in 1948. But what they don't realize is in 2005, Israel went in and took all the Jewish people, ripped them out of their homes and brought them back to Israel and literally gave Gaza to the Arabs and said, "It's all yours. We have completely gone." Now, these people could have got all this money and turned Gaza into an amazing tourist site on the Dead Sea, built buildings, created jobs, created universities, created a massive tourism industry for where they were, and they're right next to Cyprus and Israel, and they could have fed off that and they could have flourished. But they didn't do that, did they?
No.
And why didn't they do that?
Because it's not in the elite's interest. They need to have that enclave there next to Israel as an excuse to fight the Jewish nation. And it's not just a Jewish nation. People in Europe, like ourselves, like I'm also based in Ireland, for those who are not aware of my location. I don't hide it. I'm Portuguese myself, but I'm based here in the Republic of Ireland, and I would stand for Israel, even though there's a lot of backlash, and I got like deals cancelled all the time, negativity, you name it. But what I want to say is we in the West will need to be aware that the war that Israel is fighting at the moment will be ours, if it's not ours already. And perhaps in the future, we will think, yeah, maybe we should have team up with the Israelis and to avoid the situation we are facing at the moment. And I wouldn't be surprised, Sam, if, let's say, in a few years, we will need the Israelis to come over and help us because we will be outnumbered by other ethnicities that are not here with the right intentions.
Ireland is on thin ice, if you ask me. I don't know if Israel would help them in the future. To be fair, and Spain, they're also getting on thin ice. And by that, I mean that their policies are so one-sided, right? Look, I'll give you an example. Trinity College stopped any connection with anything to do with Israel academically, etc. But they're still accepting Palestinians and Gazans and Iranians, for example. So if they had made us, if Trinity College had made a stand and said, look, we are not dealing with anyone that is killing people, wars. We have to make a stand, and we can't do it. And that means we have to disengage with any interaction that we have with Palestine, with Iran, with Lebanon, Yemen, Israel, none of them. Until they sort their stuff out, we can't deal with them anymore. And that's that. But that's not what they did they? They just chose Israel. And this is when people like myself, and indeed all the Irish people that are in Ireland Stands for Israel, that group, they're all Irish, by the way, we're all looking at this going, this is wrong. This is not what Irish people want. Most of them want to stay neutral. Picking a side is not neutral, right? It's not neutral. And Ireland has lost its way. It's gone way off course. And if people can't see that, they've just blinded themselves. They're lost in every aspect, because you cannot pick a side and say that you're neutral.
Yeah.
whether, like, we both agree that we feel that Israel is surrounded, and we know that missiles have gone in for years and years into Israel from all these countries. So we know that. So we do have a biased view of Israel. But if you're going to say no more, we're not going to deal with people engaged in war, you have to do it with everyone not engaged in war. You have to put your foot down and say, no, we cannot deal with Iran. We're not dealing with Palestine. We're not going to have these students here. And that's it, as well as Israel. But that's the fact that wasn't done. It tells you a lot who's driving this agenda in the universities in Ireland, in the activism, in the NGOs, and in the politicians.
And they're a very, very dangerous alliance. So they all act out as a team, and that's where the issue is, because they have the power, and they are profiting from it. And I think the other issue is, let's say, among the opposition. And I don't want to play this as left versus right, but when it comes to Israel, there's no way around. Like, I think especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, there has been a huge split among, let's say, the opposition of the establishment. So there are people who are more concerned with Israel, and they realize that Israel is at the forefront of the civilizational war, and there are others who believe that Israel is part of the evil. And it's very hard for us to get together because there is this huge ideological gap between us, which in some sense, I was even thinking myself, it's not exactly a bad thing, but that's a sign that most of us will think by ourselves. We are not just following the tribe and, not like the others. Let's say, okay, I'm for Palestine, so I'm for the climate change, and I'm against capitalism, and you'll know all their gospel because it's so evident that it's tedious, I would say. At least among us, there is some room for differences, and I think it's very healthy. That's one of the reasons why.
Differences is really important. We need to sit down and open a conversation. But with this pro-Palestinian, I call them the low IQ mob. I know that's a little bit blunt, but that's what I refer to them as. They have really formed a belongingness, and when I see them all together, I can't help but think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where I think the third level is to belong, and the fourth level is esteem. And these people just need to belong to something. They have to belong to something, and this is really, got their juices flowing, and they want to be part of it, and so they're just not interested. By the way, before, I know we're going to be finishing in a minute, but I just have to say something. Yesterday, I was with a very good friend. We were in a park in Dublin, and we were with our dogs, and we saw one man walking, Irish man in his 40s, with his dog, and another man walking from another direction around the same demographic. And in front of our eyes, they did the Nazi salute.
No way.
I kid you not. And then just kept walking in different directions. And I didn't actually catch the...
But they were just taking the piece, or it was serious?
No, because my friend, who knows I'm Jewish, and he knows that I've been following this, he kind of said, did you see that? And I looked, and I saw one of them walk away with a smirk and with his dog, and he looked at us because we were looking at him like our mouths were open, and then we looked at the other guy, and he was just staring at us because he had popped that we saw it. They didn't communicate. It was just a Heil Hitler salute, which kind of indicates that in that particular area, there might be a secret Nazi group. And that's, the stories of the Nazis, when one Nazi sees each other, they have to do that salute, right?
Yes.
They can't,
yes,
you cannot not do it.
I saw that myself, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is something that They have to do. So if these two were Nazis, when they see each other, that's the way they greet. And the fact that they didn't talk afterwards and went into their separate ways, it's just, wow, I had my head spinning that that happened in a park, a family park, where lots of different demographics are. Jogging, walking, picnicking, we were walking our dog. That happened yesterday. True story.
I think that I truly believe you. I'm not surprised myself. I'd say that one of the issues is the word Nazi has been banalized. Now everyone now is called a Nazi just for disagreeing or challenging the status quo, and we need to be very careful with words, because words, they have a meaning and they have an impact in the way we operate and interact with others. So when the words like that, I'm not going to repeat because it's such an ugly word, but when that word is so much a part of the public discourse, it loses its original meaning, and then everyone can be called that. And I would say, I don't know, maybe 95 out of 100 times, it doesn't make any sense. Like, these people exist, you just came across them. I saw them myself, and I saw them doing very ugly things in Portugal that I may share another time. They are a real danger. They exist. Luckily, they are a small minority, and I think they don't really constitute a serious threat in this day and age. But if we start to use that word just because we are not happy with what someone is saying, at some point, these people may expand and they can become a real danger. And we don't want that, because they are violent. They know how to be aggressive. And I think most of us are not ready to respond, because they use violence in a way that for us is not acceptable. And they can be someone you don't want to come across, especially if you are, as I was just saying, in the wrong place, wrong time. So we need to be very mindful with how we use words, how we understand the reality, because I think that's another issue. Like, people are so brainwashed, they don't know exactly what they stand for. There's no real engagement. There's no real openness about what's going on. I think we need to, in this day and age, you need to be fake and fast to get on with life. If you dare to be yourself and have a degree of honesty, you'll be seen as someone that should be excluded as soon as possible, because you constitute some entity that others are not prepared to deal with. So there is this whole thing that the more we look alike and the less we challenge, the better. And it's not only something happen, let's say, among the adults, because as adults we tend to conform, no, because we had things to do. We need to, we need to work. We need to feed our families and all that. For me, the most concern, the biggest concern is when I see that among the youth, because I see that the youth these days, they are not challenging the status quo. You probably remember when we were a bit younger, we like to go against the older generations. We will challenge what the TV or the radio or the press is saying, just for the sake of being rebellious. These days is the opposite. The youth is so politically correct that is boring.
Yeah, that's exactly it. There needs to be a lot more done in Ireland, I think, to challenge the misinformation. There needs to be a lot more done by our leaders, actually, and that's just not being happening at all, and it's a very, very sad situation. Australia's made some really good steps towards, changing and fighting what's going on. I mean, indeed, the situation in Australia with the synagogues being set on fire and stuff, they found out, ASIO, which is the Australian Secret Service, found out that it was Iran. They let the world know it was Iran was behind that. In Ireland, amazingly, we have politicians that are publicly supporting the Iranian regime.
which should be a crime. Like in
Which
a
should be a
serious context, if someone would support the Iranian regime, the day after they'll be out.
Yeah,
That soon.
it should be crime, but it's not.
No time for apologize. No time to explain yourself. You are gone. You need to find another job because you are not reliable to sit in the parliament not even one more day. This is it. Like you cannot endorse that regime from any other angle. You can say that sometimes the West was nasty. Fine, I can take that, but that is not an excuse to be on the Iranian regime's side at
After
all.
all they've done, after all the videos we've seen of women getting battered, and we know stories of women that were killed for showing their hair. Like everyone's aware of those stories now.
Yeah.
And to be on side with that regime really says something. But in my opinion, a lot of people are on side with the regime, and I'm still not seeing UCD or Trinity their students' union come out fighting against the regime, protesting against the regime. There is an actual war going on with a country, United States, that is our lifeline as far as exports and economy goes. So we should be really, sticking with the USA, and we should be supporting them. We don't have to agree with everything Trump says, but like they have been part of Ireland, connected to Ireland economically and socially for a very, very long time. They have gone to war, and most of our politicians are supporting the regime and the activists. And I'm like scratching my head thinking, what on earth is going on with Ireland?
Yeah, it's very sad. Just before you go, I want to ask you one thing as a woman, because I wrote the other day in my Facebook profile that feminists for Iran are the new queers for Palestine. So I would like to get your thoughts as a woman on these feminists for Iran, which seem to be something real, and they are quite popular in the United States and here in Ireland too.
Well, who are the feminists for Iran?
They are not real feminists. They are just political agents.
Who are these people? Like, who are they? Because, I see there was an organization, I won't say their name, but they joined some of the Iranian protests. Some Iranians that I'm in contact with, they joined them with some of the protests that they've done, but only once or twice they did it. But they weren't they're not there now. And if you're a feminist, you would be out fighting for not just Iranians' rights, but Afghanistan, the women in Afghanistan. Like they really need our help. Women really need to wake up and see what's happening in Afghanistan as well as Iran. Like we could talk about loads of different things, right? But it just goes to show how people are focused on one little bit of itty bitty thing in a huge mountain of problems that the world has. And they don't understand why they're focused on it. They're just all in for some reason. Brainwashing. I think they're going to be doing courses on this, on how this brainwashing works. Well, before we get, Facebook.
You think there is still a brain? Because I think their brains are hijacked.
No. Seriously, Facebook did this in 2012. Are you aware of that study?
No, this is
so
new
in
to me.
2012, Facebook did 750,000 profiles. They didn't tell them, but what they did is they put in their feed, they either put positive or negative stuff, and they wanted to see if that would make the person react either negative or positive. And it was absolute. Every time they put a negative, like loads of negative things in one profile, they started to post negative, and the same with the positive. So that was the first bit of research that was done, where they realized, hey, we can use this tool to change behavior. Unreal, isn't it?
It is. Let me close the poll here, and I want to get your thoughts.
Yep.
So if I
Where
end the poll here,
poll?
so we have a vast majority of people understanding your gesture as a free speech. So 81% receive it as a free speech, and there is a small minority, which is less than 20%, only 19, saying that's an act of provocation. So I wonder what they mean by that with provocation, because it was, as we explained, there was nothing political about, it was just a word piece, which is one of the most beautiful words in the human vocabulary, just expressed in Hebrew, which is something absolutely necessary in this day and age where the whole Middle East is on fire.
My view is they're feeling that Trinity has stood up and said, we are against Israel. They're the first ones to do it. And then they're probably thinking, why would I hold something connected to Jewish people or Israelis with the word Shalom? Surely that will provoke. But the idea there is not to provoke. The idea is to put that in people's face. Now, if you find that offensive, then that's something to do with you, not to do with me, because it wasn't done to offend. And that I can promise you, it was done to stand up and say, hang on a minute. You know,
snowflakes will be snowflakes, Sam. There's nothing we can do about it. They are so sensitive, so they'll be offended by, let's say, now I'm seated. I can say now I'm seated. If I decide to stand up, that can be seen as a white hetero aggressive gesture, just because I'm white and hetero, just so people know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Before you go, I just want to advertise a couple of things here. First, I want to thank everyone who joined us. If you enjoy what we did here, I'll be very grateful if you can support us with a super chat. That's one way to tell us how much you are in alignment with the way we discuss things openly, frankly, trying to get our thoughts around the situation that is complex and share our own understanding of the situation with yourselves and not being biased as much as we can. You can become a member, so you can press the membership button below, and by that you can unlock some special features, like you can get access to some videos in advance and unlock content that is not available to the wider public. You can also subscribe, and with that you can tell the algo that there is value in what we do here, and this content can be spread to more and more people. I want to share another initiative of mine, if you don't mind. So now, unfortunately, travel to Israel, it's not a thing. So what I'm doing is I'm teaming up with two tour guides, one in my home country in Lisbon, and another one in Cork. So they are ready to show you the stories behind the streets in Jewish quarters in both Lisbon and Cork. So if you guys are interested in knowing a bit more of history or Jewish history in Lisbon and in Cork, I suggest you to contact myself in this form here. They'll put you in touch with Luciano if you are heading to Portugal, or Ruti if you are traveling to Cork, and you can book a tour and see the Jewish neighborhood with the company of an expert. I'll put the link here in the description. So if people are interested, please make the most of it. For tomorrow, no, not tomorrow, sorry, for Sunday, there will be an Israeli magician. So he will try to read my mind, your mind, if you join, and there will be a giveaway. So you can join the raffle, and you can get a private show for free. So Sunday, same channel, just a bit early. We will start at 6:30. It's an Israeli magician. Please, it's not about politics. It's just entertainment. We'll try to have a good time. the weather is still awful, but at least we'll try to enjoy it, as much as we can with his talent and good spirits. Sam, I want to thank you for the insights. It was great having you here.
Thank you.
I hope I see you around. I think we are doing an amazing work with spreading the truth and trying to dismantle lies. Your presence is absolutely necessary. So thank you very much.
Thank you. If anyone wants to follow me, I'm on LinkedIn as Samantha D. And we'll have a group, Island Stands, with Israel and the USA. They'll be up and running on Sunday, if anyone's interested.
Very good. I will put it in the video description. So Samantha, as I said, she just walked across Trinity with a flag that said peace in Hebrew. She held up a mirror to the whole damn place and asked, why does the road for peace make people lose their minds in this day and age? What is wrong with your script? We talked about the guards, the phones, the alleged Zionist-free zones, the real fear Jewish students feel on campus in the wider context, and how fast criticism of Israel slides into something uglier when it's aimed at Jewish identity itself. No sugarcoating here, no both sides equivocating, just straight talk with true intent. So with that, I wish everyone a good evening, and I hope I see you with a magician on Sunday. Have a good evening. Take care.
Thank you. See you now.
Thanks so much for watching. Click here for more episodes, subscribe here to catch the next ones, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section.